Black single mum is dragged away in front of her kids, unaware she's the new district attorney. Asterisk asterisk a mother's fight. The night Justice walked into the ER asterisk. It was a storm-soaked Tuesday in Cleveland Heights when Dr. Ava Chandler, a 36-year-old single mother of two, charged through the sliding doors of Lakeway Medical Center. Her youngest, Kalia, burned with fever, limp in her arms. Zoe, her older daughter, trailed close behind, clutching her mother's hand, eyes wide with worry. Only weeks before, Ava had been sworn in as the new district attorney of Cuyahoga County, a black woman. Sharp as steel, steady as snowfall. She had spent years battling injustice in courtrooms, but nothing prepared her for the fight that waited within those hospital walls. Inside, the lights flickered and buzzed overhead. The receptionist barely looked up. "Someone will be with you soon," she muttered. Ava's voice trembled, urgent but not raised. "My daughter is burning up. She cannot breathe. She keeps vomiting." The nurse behind the glass glanced at Kalia, then, without a word, reached for the phone. She did not ask questions. She did not move. Ava leaned forward, voice growing firmer. "She has asthma. She needs help now." Another nurse approached, whispered. Then both stared at Ava. One disappeared down the hallway. Minutes later, blue and red lights washed across the rain-slick entrance. Two police officers, white tall, faces carved from stone, marched into the ER, hands hovering near their belts. "Ma'am, we received a report of a disturbance," one announced. "We need you to step outside." Ava blinked in disbelief. "My daughter is sick. I am here for medical help. You were reported as aggressive and threatening to staff." Zoe squeezed her mother's waist. Kalia whimpered against her leg. "You have the wrong person," Ava said, measured, controlled. "All I did was beg for help." The officers exchanged looks. One reached for Ava's arm. That was when her years as a lawyer snapped into place. "Do not touch me. I am the district attorney. You are making a grave mistake." They did not care. One grabbed her left arm, the other her right. "Mummy, stop," Zoe wailed. She did nothing. The automatic doors opened. Rain hammered the sidewalk. The crowd inside started filming, but nobody intervened. The officers dragged Ava through the doors, her pleas lost in the downpour. She did not resist, but still they treated her as if she were dangerous, pinning her to the pavement, cuffing her in full view of her children. Zoe tried to reach her but was blocked by a blue uniform. She sobbed, shielding her sister. Ava was shoved into the back of a squad car. No questions, no rights, no dignity. All because of a single, baseless phone call. The system wakes up. Back at the station, the atmosphere shifted when a name popped up in the computer system. "Waichie's the new DA," an officer muttered, wide-eyed. His partner froze, coffee halfway to his lips. Meanwhile, Kalia was finally admitted by a nurse, who had seen the commotion on a bystander's livestream and demanded help for the girls. Zoe sat at her sister's bedside, cheeks streaked with tears, too young to make sense of what had happened. Ava, soaked and shivering, waited in a holding cell, her hand bleeding from where it scraped the concrete. The booking officer, now nervous, came to her. I did not know who you were," he stammered. Ava met his gaze. "Did you need to?" What the officers and hospital staff did not know was that the original caller, a nurse named Carol Withers, was no stranger to complaints. White, in her 50s, Carol was notorious for nervous calls whenever a black woman raised her voice. No one had ever disciplined her. Her friends on city council always covered for her. But weeks before, Ava had flagged Carol's name in an ethics report. Now, the pattern was clear. This was not a random mistake. It was targeted, justice in motion, by sunrise. The mayor's phone was ringing, as was the chief of police's. By 9 a.m., the city was scrambling for damage control. Footage of Ava struggling in the rain while her daughters screamed had already gone viral. Headlines flashed. DA arrested after false 911 call, dragged from hospital while seeking help for sick child. The city issued apologies, announced internal reviews, suspended the officers, and called it a misunderstanding. But Ava Chandler was not interested in their half-hearted regrets. The bruises on her wrists had not faded. So his nightmares were nightly. Kalia kept asking, "Why did they take you, Mummy?" Ava did what she had always done. She fought back. She demanded the 911 tapes. The dispatcher's voice was calm, but Carol Withers's message was breathless, practiced, and fearful. "Yes, there is a woman yelling at the front desk, unstable, with kids. I am worried for their safety." No mention of a mother begging for help. No mention of a sick child. Just a portrait painted in fear and bias. The next day, Ava called a press conference not as a victim, but as the district attorney. Cameras rolling. She played the 911 call, then looked directly into the lenses. This was a false report. Officers acted on it without a single question, because I am a black mother, because I did not whisper, because I dared to demand care for my child. Footage of her being dragged through the rain played behind her. People wept in the audience. Even some officers watching live looked shaken. Ava did not shout. She did not need to. She had the truth, accountability and change. Carol Withers was placed on immediate leave not because the hospital cared, but because the boardroom was flooded with protests and calls. By the next morning, #they called her unfit trended nationwide. Black mothers, Latina mothers, immigrant fathers, families everywhere shared their own stories of being punished for not being calm enough. Ava knew this fight was bigger than herself. She filed 3 lawsuits, one against the Cleveland Heights Police Department, one against Lakeway Medical Center, and one personally against Carol Withers for defamation and endangerment. She did not want just money, she wanted public accountability. Officer Mitch Groden and Officer Kyle Beamer were placed under investigation. It turned out this was not their first complaint. Ava's legal team unearthed body cam footage from 2 years ago, showing Groden detaining another black mother for refusing to comply while loading groceries. The pattern was undeniable. When Ava released the footage, the city erupted. Students walked out of schools. Teachers cried in class. On live television, an elderly black man said, "I waited 70 years to see a sister this strong." Carol Withers denied everything, insisted she was scared for her safety. Ava's attorney calmly asked, "Explain how asking for a nurse made her dangerous." Carol fumbled, stammered, had no answer. Ava stood, unbroken. "I have spent my career defending this system, but when it saw me, a black mother, exhausted, desperate for help, it labeled me a threat, not a parent, not a person, a problem." The courtroom was silent. Then she added, "You called me unfit, but the only thing I am not fit for is silence." A new standard, ***. Carol Withers lost her license. The city settled for $2.3 million. Both officers were fired, but Ava did not stop. She launched a new task force, the Kalia Initiative, within the DA's office to investigate false reports, racial profiling, and medical neglect. Every complaint would be independently reviewed. Lakeway Medical Center was forced to retrain its entire staff in cultural sensitivity and anti-bias protocols. The hospital's CEO resigned. But most important of all, Zoe and Kalia got their mother back this time. No one could take her away. It had never been just about a hospital visit. It was about a society that sees fear instead of family. Ava Chandler made sure they remembered, you do not get to define the worth of a black mother not with lies, not with fear, not with handcuffs. They called her unfit. She called them out. If this story